Good day, everyone. My name is Jordan Hupilian, your chemistry tutor. And today we are going to tackle on the principles of chemistry, the atomic theory. And we will learn today the history of the concept of atom and how it came to be, and also the principles of isotopes and percent abundance. So it is very important to learn this topic because when you go to higher chemistry, you have an easy understanding on the atom. No? You understand the concept of the atom. So let us start our tutorial. So the model of the atom started from the ancient Greek philosophers or the Greek philosophers. We have here Empedocles. Empedocles states that all matters was made up of four elements: earth, fire, water, and air. So, timan lang ninyo, no? Parang avatar siya, no? Earth, fire, and water. And air, no? Sabi daw ni Empedocles, lahat daw ng matter composed of this element. Pero, then came to be Democritus. Sabi niya that matters were divisible into indivisible particle or called atoms or atomos, meaning indivisible. Meaning niya kapag meron kang iron dito, pag hinati-hati mo yung bakal na yan, darating ka sa point na hindi na madidivide yung iron particle. So, at tawag dyan is atom, no? Lahat ng element daw was made up of this particle. But Aristotle favored the idea of Empedocles, no? He supported that idea, and because of his influence, no, the concept of atom was pretty bit stagnant until 17th century. Now, during the 17th, after which, in the 17th century, we have now the Dalton's model of atom. This was proposed by Dalton, an English schoolmaster, based his proposal on an experimentation. He said that his basis on his theory was the law of conservation of mass and the law of constant composition. So later on malalaman natin ano ang meaning nun, no? And here is his idea on how he described an atom, no? An element daw are composed of minute indivisible particle called atoms. And atoms of the same element are alike in mass and size. No? If you have a carbon, no, we have a carbon, another carbon, this carbon actually has the same mass and the same size. He also said that atoms in different elements have different masses. For example, you have a carbon right here and you have a nitrogen right here. Since hindi sila magkapareho, hindi sila pareho ng mass at hindi sila pareho ng size. Next also, sabi niya, chemical compounds are formed by the union of two or more atoms of different elements. Atoms are composed of a four compound of subatomic particles. So, very self-explanatory, no? Ang chemical compounds daw mag-form via union of two or more atoms. So, if carbon will bond to nitrogen, may hydrogen dito, no? And etc. So, mag-form ito sila ng compound. Next is atoms combine to form compounds in a simple numerical ratio. So, if you have carbon and a nitrogen, mag-bond together sila, no? Whole number, no? A simple numerical ratio is to 1 is to 1, or halimbawa water, H2O has a ratio of 1 is to 2 or 2 is to 1. Ito ang oxygen, ito ang hydrogen. Based din tayo kung ang hydrogen, ito ang oxygen. So, ganun yung ratio. Simple numerical ratio. And lastly, he said that atoms of two elements may combine in different ratio to form more than one compound. Example nun is water. So let's talk about the composition of compounds. So one of the tawag nito ang fundamental laws of chemistry is that the law of definite composition, which states that a compound always contains two or more elements combined in a definite proportion of mass. So I'd like to give you a simple analogy on to understand this. Same cake, no? Same recipe. Kapag nagluluto ka ng isang cake, no? No matter how gaano man siya kaliit or kalaki, kung same cake lang yung ginaluto mo, no? Same lang din ang ratio. If you're cooking a chocolate cake, may chocolate cake ka dito, ganyan kalaki, no? Kapag magluto ka naman din ng ganito kalaki na chocolate, same recipe lang ang ginagamit mo at same lang din ng ratio. Ay, well, tinaasan mo lang yung ratio, but the composition is the same. To better understand this, let's have an example. For example, the composition of water, no? Water is H2O2. H2O. Always, no? The water always contains the same element, hydrogen and oxygen. And the mass percent of hydrogen into water is 11.2 and for oxygen is 88.8. Always talaga ito na percent by mass nila prior to the compound. No? Whether it is a distilled water, a tap water, a rainwater, or whatever water it is, as long as each water, no, H2O, the hydrogen mass and will always be 11.2%, and the percent by mass of oxygen is always 88.8% for water. If this were to change in if this percentage were to change, then therefore your compound is not anymore water. Always remember that. Always remember. Next is the law of multiple. Atoms of two or more elements may be combined in different ratio to produce more than one compound. And let's have an example right here. We have water, no, H2O, and hydrogen peroxide. Note that this compound is composed of the same two element, no, water and oxygen. Water and oxygen. No. Wala ang findings natin, findings. So, findings natin is that hydrogen peroxide has twice as many oxygen per hydrogen atom as he does of water. Take note that our hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, no? Kung i-draw natin yan siya, no, parang ganito siya. Bakit nasabi na has twice as many oxygen per hydrogen atom? Kasi per hydrogen atom, may isa siyang oxygen, no? 'Di ba? May isa siyang oxygen. And also, hydrogen peroxide, no, has twice as much oxygen by mass does out of water. Kasi, bakit sabi na twice as much mass of oxygen as compared to water? Kasi, take a look at it. How many oxygen elements are present in hydrogen peroxide? Dalawa. As i-compare mo ito kang H2O na isa lamang. So, by common sense, no, dalawa na nga ang oxygen niya, so mas mabigat si oxygen kang hydrogen peroxide. Mas mabigat yung oxygen ni hydrogen peroxide kasi dalawa sila as compared to water. That's a analogy, no. The analogy of it I will use is that the more compound, no, the bigger. Di ba? Ganun siya. Tingnan nyo. Percent by mass, no? 1 gram lang yung hydrogen nila as compared to mass of oxygen. Actually, you can compute using stoichiometry yung kanyang percent composition by mass just to compare that. So, let's move on now to the nature of electric charges or the properties of electric charges. Take note that in chemistry, we have two charges, no? We have a negative and a positive charge. Very commonly, no, alam na natin to since elementary, unlike charges attracts and like charges repel, no. Charges may be transferred via contact, take note of it, via contact or induction. The less distance between the charge, the greater the force of attraction or repulsion will be. Take note that kapag ganito we have a negatively charged particle and ganito, positively charged particle, no? Malapit lang sila masyado. So, since less distance lang yung kanilang gap, no, or less distance lang, no, mas malakas ang kanilang force of attraction. And also, if you have a negatively charged particle, and a negatively charged particle, maliit lang yung distance nila, no, malakas yung repulsion nila. Masyado. This can be, sa higher chemistry, ma-apply ito na principle. For example, yung steric repulsion sa organic chemistry nyo, yung mga steric and mga steric hindrances, no, kapag malapit na masyado ang electron to one another or magka-symmetric sila, they will repel one another, causing a steric repulsion. And also, in biochemistry, no, at when there is an attraction of negatively charged particle, or the cation and anion, no, mag-attract sila, they will pull parang i-pull nila ang each other sa kanilang dalawa, then magdikit sila. And this principle that I'm talking about can be actually expressed in a mathematical equation, no? F is equals to KQ1 KQ2 all over R squared, no, where Q1 and Q2 is the charge, talking about the charge, and R squared is the distance, and K is the constant. K is constant. Yung R is the distance between Q1 and Q2. Next, let's know this guy. No? The Discovery of Ions by Michael Faraday. Yeah, this is Michael Faraday, by the way. So Michael Faraday, according to him, no, the discovery of ions started in by Michael Faraday. According to him, that certain substance dissolve in water and conducts electric current. No, at certain substance daw kapag dissolved na sa water, nagakonduct siya og electric current. And atoms of some elements move to cathodes and some move to the anode. So ano to? Cathode and anode, no? When you say cathode, no, this is negatively charged electrode, and anode is a positively charged electrode. Kapag gidissolve daw niya yung element, no, yung one part daw niya nag-move sa cathode, no, which is the positively charged kasi opposite attracts, and yung isa nag-move sa anode, the cathode, the negatively charged, and the anode positively charged, which is the negative particle move from the positive charge, no, and concluded that they were electrically charged and called them ions for the Greek for wanderer, no. Gitawag niya yun na principle na yung mag-move sa cathode o sa anode kay ions. Pero not until Svante Arrhenius came to be. No, Svante Arrhenius says that ions is an atom or group of atom carrying negative charge and positive charge particle. In his experiment, he dissolved sodium chloride or salt. And when salt was dissociated or melted, it forms now a positively charged sodium ion and a negatively charged chloride ion or chlorine ion. And his observation that the sodium ion move to the cathode, which is the negative um, electrode, and cath ion moves to the anode or the positively charged electrode. So let us look once more, di ba? Nag-move sila in their opposite charges. Kaya cathode was coined as, or the sodium was now says it is a cation or a positively charged particle kasi nag-move siya sa negative charge, negative side. And si chloride was now said to be an anion kasi nag-move siya sa anode, which is a positively charged electrode. Again, opposite attracts, no? Kaya thus the name cation and anion. Take note, kapag sinabi mong cation, these are positively charged particle, and anion is are positive or negatively charged ions, no? So, very much review to you. When you say ions, no, this is a review. When you say ions, no, these are electrically charged atoms. And ions can be is composed into two. No, we have cations and anions. Pag sinabi mong cations, these are positively charged ions, and when you say anions, these are negatively charged ions. Okay? That's um that's a key term or key reference to you para malaman niyo yan siya. So, next, let's go now to the discovery of the subatomic particle. It started by William Crookes. No? Nag-start siya sa kang William Crookes. And William Crookes invented the Crookes tube. No? Ito, which is this one right here. So, he invented the Crookes tube. And the emission that was produced by the Crookes tube was called the cathode rays. And because of his invention of the Crookes tube, it led the way on understanding the subatomic particle. Not until Joseph Thomson uses his experiment or apparatus. Now, Joseph Thomson proved that cathode rays are actually negatively charged particles. For the arrangement of cathode rays were deflected downward, indicating they carry negatively charge. The deviation could be measured accurately from the displacement of luminous spot on a screen at the end of the test of the tube, and subsequently the particle is named electron. So, gigamit niya yung invention ni William Crookes to discover the electron, no? Kapag ah, nag nag-shot siya og particle, kapag gamit niya nito, no, na-prove niya pala na ang cathode rays, no, the emission that the Crookes tube produces, which they call cathode rays, was actually the negative charge particle. And because of it, its deviation, no, gitawag nila itong electron. And because of the discovery of electron, he proposes now the plum pudding model, which states that no, ang electron daw naga-float around lang sila. Okay, you have electrons right here. Naga-float around lang sila sa kuan kanang murag nag-float around lang sila ano ba? Di not this ha. Parang ito. Sorry for the drawing. Naga-float lang around sila sa isang parang cookie, no? Parang sila cookie, no? Naga-float around lang sila sa positive charge material, no? Yung gina-revolving around it, gisabi niya positive material. But it came to be that the discovery of proton, no, we start first with Eugene Goldstein. No? Si Eugene Goldstein was the first German physicist who observes the proton, but Ernest Rutherford was the one who says that okay, there are positively charged particle of the atom. So, how did this idea came to be? Parang naisip ng mga scientists na if electrons float around a positively charged, parang nag-float around lang sila sa kuan, di ba di sa kanang isang portion right there, no? Very much yun yung ginagamit nila na idea eh. So, ang electron nag-float around lang siya sa isang positively charged particle. Yun na. Pero, but, because of the experiment of Ernest Rutherford, parang merong bagay na present pa sa subatomic particle. And how did he discover it? He uses his experiment. No? He performed experiments studying the inner structure of the atom using alpha particles. So this, if you look down here, no, ito ang ginawa niya na experiment, no. Meron siyang tin gold foil. Sabi niya that if you hit daw or nagbombard ka og alpha particle sa gold foil ani dire, no, lahat ng alpha particle would just pass through, no, kasi by the logic of plum pudding model, no, naga-float around lang man ang ato ang kuan, nag-float around lang man yung mga electrons natin, no, naga-float around lang sila, gaana lang. So if alpha particle pass through, no, the alpha particle pass through, no, wala sila, automatic mag-pass through lang sila kay wala may nagaharang sa kanila. So, mag-pass through lang ang alpha particle. But in his experiment, he disproved that hypothesis actually by this logic, no. Pag shot niya ng alpha particle sa tin gold foil, majority of the alpha particles went through. But some of them was deflected, no? Nag-deflect sila dito at this side, and some were even thrown back where they were shot through. So ang nangyari is pag-pass ng alpha particle, no, there was this, may ganun na direction ng mga alpha particle, or meron ding bumalik talaga sa kinaroroonan niya, no? So, he discovered that, okay, there is something present in that atom, no? Merong nakakondense at the center na nagdi-deflect ng alpha particle. And that's what later on developed the concept of proton. There is now a positively charged particle inside the atom or element, no? And because of this discovery, it developed now the theory of nuclear atom, where it states here that electron do not float around somewhere, no, but electron actually float around at the center, no, and in that center we have our nucleus, which is a positively charged particle. Pero hindi pa nagsastop ang ating story dyan. The discovery of the neutron with Chadwick, or James Chadwick. He discovered this, that okay, established na ang nuclear model natin. It states there that atoms or electrons move around or nagre-revolve lang siya sa positively charged particle called proton. But, di ba sabi, opposite charges repel. So, if nakakondense ang proton sa nucleus, wouldn't they be repelling one another? Because same charge lang man sila, 'di ba? Same charge attract. So, meron pang present, or meron pang something present in our atoms. And with the use of mass spectroscopy, he discovered now a neutral charge, no, in the nucleus. He discovered that there is a neutral charge inside the nucleus, and that's what they named now it neutron. Now, in his discovery, merong neutron sa nucleus, and that discovery of neutron was developed na nag-change na ang perspective ng ating atom, and nag-develop na ang Bohr's model of atomic uh, or the Bohr's model of the atom, which states there that the the atom is composed of a proton and a neutron condensed in the center called nucleus, and revolving around the nucleus is an electron. So, nakikita nyo sa picture, sa baba ng picture ni Chadwick, yun yung Bohr's model or the planetary model. But later on, if you further along this video, malalaman natin na hindi na ni Bohr's model ang ginagamit. Actually, the quantum model na ang ginagamit natin. But anyways, sa next part pa yun. But because of this discovery, we now discovered the last part of our atom, which is the neutron. Now that we understand what is an atom and how the atomic model came to be, let's talk about isotopes and what is isotopes actually. So, let's start. So, when we say isotopes, no, elements can actually exist in variants. So, yung carbon na nakikita nyo sa periodic table, hindi na yon yung carbon na nakita natin all throughout this environment. Actually, carbon has many types. We have carbon 12, carbon 13, and among those types are carbon 12 was the most abundant of them all. Now, the types of carbon, what do they call, what are their names, no? Or ano ba sila na category, no? The those types are what we call isotopes, no? Maraming isotopes, no? Yung lithium may isotope siya, yung iron may isotope siya, neon may isotope siya, yun siya. And elements exist in different variants, no? And when you are computing on which element or which isotopes are the most abundant, we call that the percent abundance calculation. Take note. Here here is the formula that you need to remember when we are computing the percent abundance. Now, A is equals to M1 P1 plus M2 P2 and so on. Where M represents the average mass unit, no? P is the percent abundance, and A represents the average mass. Note that when you add all the isotope, the percent abundance of all the isotopes of an element, it will always results into 100 or closer to 100, or basta ma-round off niyo siya 100. So 100 siya. Exactly. So let's have the sample calculations right here. So let us complete the table. We have bromine 79 and bromine 81 having an 78.918 for bromine 79, the mass of them, and bromine 81 having a AMU of 80.916, and both of them has the average mass of 79.9. So how do we solve for the percent abundance? We use our formula kanina na A is equals to M1 P1 plus M2 P2. Okay? So we plug in our given, we are already given the average mass and our AMU. So plug in natin ito sila. So I'd like to highlight this, no? X and 1 minus X. Paano siya naging ganun? Or bakit naging ganun yung variables ko? So, ganun yung variables ko because how take note that when you add their percent abundance, it will always results into 100%. So I have to make some assumption. No, I assume that bromine 79 is 40% and bromine 81 is 60%, no, abundant. So, yan. You might ask me, ano ba yung basis mo, no? I just assume, no? Pwede din sa inyong pag-solve, pwede din ito gawin na si bromine 81 is 40% and si bromine 79 is 60%. Again, it will derive at the same answer. No, I just use this analogy right here, no. Nag-assume ko na lang na si bromine 79 kay siya man ang una sa table, so siya ang 40% and si bromine 81 since siya ang ikalawa is 60% na lang siya. Okay? Pero you can interchange the percentage because this is just assume. Nag-a-assume ka lang naman. And with that said, no, actually, 40% can be represented as X, di ba? And 60% can be represented as 1 minus X. Bakit? Because when you add this variable, oh, i-add mo si X kang 1 minus X, no, di ba? This will result into 1 because ma-cancel out man ito. No, and we will leave into 1. And 1 represents now here 100%. Actually says that this is 100%. Diba? So, therefore, 60% we use the variable 1 minus x, and 40% we use x, because when you add them, it will result to 1, which is 100%. Because of it, because of that, we have this form, and now we perform basic algebra, no? Basic arithmetic right here, no? Plugging in all the values, no? I-distribute natin siya by to this. We'll have this one right here, and applying the addition property quality, no? We subtract both sides, and we'll have this portion right here. And to let x be remain in this side, we divide both sides by the coefficient of negative 1.998. No, divide both sides, ma-cancel out siya, then si x na lang ang mabilin, and we will have our value of x as 0.509. Because of which, na alam natin ang value ni x, no, we plug in x to our 1 minus x, no, 1 minus 0.509, saan ba to siya nakuha? This is just the value of our x, which is now equal to 0.491. And 0.509 and 0.491 can actually be represented as percent. So, i-express natin siya as percent kasi percent abundant siya. Thus, the answer would be, no? Thus, the answer would be this one. Okay? And kapag i-add mo ito, no? 100% yung lalabas. So what does this imply? This implies that since bromine 79, the percent abundance siya is 50.9 and siya mas malaki pa siya kumpara kang bromine 81, meaning that in the environment, no, bromine 79 is the most abundant amongst its isotope. And nagsunod lang si bromine 81 based on the data given. Now, let's check comprehension. You can do this on your own. Solve for the percent abundance of neon 22 and its AMU given the isotopes given our given values. So you can pause the video to solve this on your own. So yun, I will reveal now the answer. So that's it for our lesson for today, and I hope that is very clear. For clarifications and any suggestions or any confusions or clarification, feel free to comment down below on the chat box or the comment link. And as always, my name is Jordan Hope Julian, your chem tutor this semester, and I hope you have a good day.